Take two. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Burgio, Mark Novak, episode 205, talking about old with no experience or old with experience, young with no experience. What do we like to choose? What do we see? What do we do? What are some good traits that we see in very, very successful agents through the ranks here? We've had a lot, and if you watch, I think it was episode 203, we went about my journey and how I started here, and it may
From
not be
pizza boy to superstar.
yeah, and basically, why would Mark choose me with no experience? Where you see a lot, Mark, every real estate ad says we want 6 months experience, we want this. Like, they're all set this prerequisite to join, but where you don't have that, we went through my journey, and you said that how basically successful I have become. We've got many other examples of that, and I did state it in the first take, not as successful as me, but they've all done really well, just not as good, but still
Talk
good.
Talk it up.
No,
But,
so yeah.
but guys and girls, let's qualify first of all. Like, we are, out of 185 real estate agencies on the northern beaches, we're probably ranked on the top 3, 1, 2, in terms of volume of staff and volume of business. I personally have been training people, employing people for almost 20 years, in the industry for almost 30 years. So, Michael, how long have you been in the business for?
I've been with the business 7-8 years.
So we're nice and qualified to speak with everyone about this. And I think a lot of people in their minds have reminisced. Maybe they've got kids, maybe they've got family members, maybe it's them themselves, looked at the real estate industry and thought, I would be really good at that. Now, when they say they'd be really good at that, they may be looking, it's not just sales. We tend to focus on sales as an industry a lot, but there's an amazing, with 50 staff in our office, there's so many different types of local positions. Local, I mean, you're not going to the CBD to get to work, which is 2 hours a day you're saving. But we've got a design team, media. We've got accounting team. We've got property managers. We've got leasing consultants, which lease stuff out. We've got salespeople. We've got admin that support salespeople. We've got front of house. It really is a real big spectrum of different types of people in the business, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think it's almost people think you either do leasing or you do sales, and they're really the only two roles. But I was just thinking then, when you're rattling off all the names, there's like leasing and like sales is probably the smallest part of a company. And because I think if we look at
it's like an iceberg.
Yeah. And if you look at everyone within our business, there's a lot of people who love real estate, but they don't necessarily want to do sales, but they love property. They just love real estate. And I think a lot of people feel like there's no role for them. But I think a good message today is there's a lot of things you can do in in the real estate industry.
Yep. Now, let's before we get into the people that have done well and not done well and the traits they have, give me some key words of people that have succeeded in the industry that will straight away come to mind with you.
Yeah, energy, resilience. You've got to have you've got to have faith. Like, I'm all for questioning things if it's the right way to do it, but when you're very new, you've almost got to have faith that you're being told the right way, give it your all. You've got to have the just do it attitude as well. Like,
get shit done.
Yeah, not
GSD.
Exactly, and don't overthink it. I think the less thinking, the better. Just, you're told to do this, get it done, and if it doesn't work the first way, then do it. Good communication, but just listening. What are some words you're thinking?
Look, for me, honesty. Yeah, you're right. Persistence, resilience, because, geez, you get knocked on the head, you got to get up and dust yourself off and go again. Hard work. Like, if I reckon if you can have that hard work ethos, you
Yep.
can almost overcome any of those obstacles and words that we just spoke about. You can manifest those words. So, I think hard work sort of does really conquer all. But they're probably the words. They're probably the words. Now, do we go when we employ? Do we prefer someone in their 40s, 50s, 60s? Do we prefer someone in their 20s?
Yeah. The preference is definitely young 20s with no experience, because I think every company has their own way, and sometimes it can take a lot of time. The same amount of time to train someone with no experience, it can take just as much time to untrain someone with another officer's culture, habits, and So I definitely see the pattern of no experience within the office as well, which is very different, Mark, because if you're out there listening and you're looking for a real estate job, they all ask you to have 6 months experience, 12 months, 2 years experience. So we're definitely doing something different. Talk us through it.
Okay, so I've got to be politically correct on this one as well, because there are some people in the office that have started later on in their career, later on midway through their careers,
Yeah, some have been
like
really old,
Lisa
super
Novak.
old. I was just
She was
super old.
Glenn Higgs,
Yeah,
Branka Stankovic,
not old, young lady.
young lady. So, but the traits these guys certainly had was passion and what we spoke about, persistence, resilience. And they were adaptable. I think Glenn came in certainly having his own franchise, previously his own office, and coming out of the Hooker franchise. He actually was very admired a lot of the systems and had been through the trials and tribulations. So sometimes less often than not, but you do have your unicorns that come through that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that have either been particularly successful in other parts of their life or career, and then they've come across and said, okay, I'm going to nail this in real estate. But generally, we have found success in getting the young guys and girls from reception, from front of house, and then bringing them through the business and mentoring them through. What does that look like?
Would be a great example. Like if we got many names, but like someone that we could sort of piggyback this off would be Michael Silic, who I think he's 25 or 24 at the moment, so still very, very young.
Yes,
but he started when he was 21. And he works alongside Lisa with Lisa in the team there. And when I think of him, I just think resilience, because he was just getting knocked and kept getting back up and knocked and knocked and knocked and just had faith in the system. I think it takes for a couple of those young guys just to see a couple of people a few steps ahead of them.
Yeah.
Be like, they're still here. They've got what I want. I got to have faith in the system that you get knocked so many times, you will be able to stand on your own 2 feet. He's a very good example of just getting through it.
Look, he's interesting because, and again, I guess viewers, and if anyone's got any questions about this, throw them out there. Happy to answer them. But I think as you sort of want to, I think part of the attraction of talking about something like this is you can maybe resonate, or you can, and so to dig a bit deeper with Michael Silic, this was a guy that he's not a extrovert. He's not the guy in the pub. He's not the guy in the pub that will have everyone laughing. Quite an introverted person. Played very well to his strengths. So his strengths were definitely resilience, definitely hard work, definitely adaptable. Now he very well educated guy, accomplished a degree in university. But when he came to us, he worked alongside, he was a bit of a runner in the office. And then he worked alongside myself doing off the plan stuff. And it was really with Michael, it was really point and shoot, and there was no question. So he, we're like, that's the direction you got to go, bang. That's the direction I got to go, bang. That's the direction you got to go, bang. And you know what? It's hard work, and you get nailed along the way. You couldn't kill the guy. Each
Yeah.
time you made a mistake and remade that mistake, and sometimes the third time, the guy just dusted himself off and went forward as well. That's my big thing about Michael Silic.
And
And boy, he's very accomplished, guys and girls. He does massive figures in compared to the rest of our industry.
Yeah, and to do figures without having that mold of being a cocky salesman, pushy, like the guy's just the total opposite. That he's someone that you would want to have in your home because you can have a genuine conversation. You not feel like you're getting pushed, and I think that was a very good, that worked for him. Don't get me wrong. Some scenarios it doesn't. You've got to have a bit more aggression to it. But in a lot of examples, it does work. And it's also knowing where. So when you look at, let's just say there's two sides of a sale transaction. There's getting the listing and then there's selling the property. And I think a lot of the time where getting the listing, it's a bit more competitive, times pressure. Like sometimes you got to put a bit more pressure, and he didn't necessarily mold to that. But then he did some phenomenal work with buyers, making them feel comfortable. So then I look at how Lisa and Michael work together, where Lisa's doing a lot more on the listing side, and then he's just hammering them off with the buyer side. It's just, and that's where a lot of people, I think, in real estate, it's not just one shoe fits all or one category. There's so many, so many different teams you can be in, dynamics and roles, and you don't have to be good at everything, but just be really good at one thing and then have an open mind. I think a lot of people think a lot of people would have quit a lot of the times along the way because Silic was sort of just thrown around. He did a bit of commercial leasing, did this, but it wasn't thrown around as in no one wanted him. It was, let's just fight. Like, he's got resilience. So you can work with someone like that who's just here to work and turns up and doesn't talk shit, just is a very humble person. So you want that person, but you're just like, where is he going to prosper? And
he's slow though. He's really slow.
Yeah.
So when Michael Silic eats, he's the one that's left at the dinner table at the end, and he's only halfway through his meal.
Yeah.
But he won't stop. He's a solid operator. Now, what else would be a trait? So that's a young profile of a guy. Let's talk about someone like Branca. So Branca came in her mid-30s, could not use email, English was not her first language. What were the traits or the attractions for her to the business, and why did she? So if anyone doesn't know, Branca is the #1 property manager in the country according to realestate.com.au. What she came in on reception. What are the traits that and reasons why she has succeeded and enjoyed the industry?
I definitely think it had, she had a lot of experience with her own company and her own business prior. So, yep. And then I think when it's people coming out older or with experience, it can work older. It can work out two ways. It's more if they've definitely worked a whole system prior and they know that's not what they want to do. Say they've done something for 10 years and they've just had in their mind like a real clear, decisive, that's not for me anymore. And that's not saying you weren't successful at it or whatever it brought, that lifestyle, or you just know that wasn't for you. I think it can come quite beautifully, that transition of now this is like there's no one foot in the door at an old place. You just know that's not for you, but there's a lot of things you can adapt forward. So I think she just had that business maturity, but also knew I'm doing something new. Let's absorb it. And obviously a million things.
Do you know what a good one with Branca is? Love the actual company.
Yes.
and loved and respected the company and the managers.
Yeah.
If you second guess, if you're second guessing your boss, if you're second guessing your company's decision,
Mm.
you sort of that path to progress is. I don't think it's going to happen for you. You got
Well,
to go. You got to go.
Well, I think because she had a business in hospitality, she really appreciated staff and the
Yeah.
customer. Without them, you have no business.
Yeah.
Like if you're, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
when the staff were there, she was there, and she really had a great compassion with landlords and tenants. Like it didn't matter if you're a tenant or a landlord, or like a lot of people are, oh, they're just a tenant, but she knew you needed both of them for the transaction. Landlord's no good without a tenant, and there was just some really humbling, I don't know, compassion and niceness. And the rest came later. Once you've got that, you can learn how to use a computer. You can learn how to send an email. And Branka literally had to learn these things. But you just had that personality and obviously a crazy work ethic. First in, last out. But that came from being a boss and your own boss. Like, just that
Yeah.
helps. That's where that experience sometimes really helps.
But
Firsthand.
on something I notice about Branca is it's almost like and she's always been like this. If the captain of the ship is in order to be a great leader, which she is, you've also got to be a great follower.
Yes.
So you cannot be a great leader if you don't know how to follow. People don't have the respect for you. So I honestly believe, and I'm like that. You saw what I was like with COVID, with the Prime Minister and whatever he said we did.
Yep.
I'm like, and I've noticed about a part of being, whether you're young or old, getting into the real estate industry. I think that you do have to be in love with a company that you're
Blind
going to work
loyalty.
with.
Bit of blind
Yeah,
loyalty.
and you've got to have blind loyalty. I think you've got to be like, aye, captain. If that's what you say has to be done, well, that's what has to be done. Very, 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 very important.
Yep. Okay. And then, so what's to people out there who want to get into real estate or just hiring in general? Hiring in general, Mark, take like with the no experience,
Yeah,
what are some obstacles to get past? If there's a person out there at the moment, it could be retail, could be making pizzas, whatever it is, and they've
yep.
always been stuck in the way of hiring with experience, give them a little bit of a blurb of, all right, this is going to be the shit when you first start, where you're pulling your hair out going, why didn't I get someone with a bit of basics? But where's that real benefit? Like, where's a year down to having them like sell it to them? Sort of
Yeah,
thing.
guys, a great example. I don't know if I'm answering your question directly, but a great example of this is I want everyone to watch the career of James Lamplow, who just started with us about 4 or 5 months ago.
Mm.
Now, this is a guy that's why is he succeeding so far and so much in such a short period? This is a guy that is formerly a tennis coach. He's 24. He's devoted a lot of his professional working life, or what he's done of it, to tennis coaching. So he's doing very, very well, and the reason why is hard work, and the reason why is he's fast, like his agility, like he's very and he's adaptable. What would you say he's doing well?
Yeah, it's definitely just that, not really questioning it. Just you've got to have that blind loyalty, and but I don't want people to think
Good words.
I don't want people to then think because that you can't then come up with creative ideas, because Mark, we've had some great changes from people who's come in fresh and go, is that the best way? Shouldn't we do it this way? Like, I don't want people to then think that blind loyalty means there's not you've always got to believe what you've been told is the best way and not have opinion elsewhere. I just think a lot of people can go too far with questioning something. Like, for the first little while, just do it how you've been told, smash it out of the park, and then you can always take a step back. So he's been really good at, all right, just because like you and I, Mark, like we can sometimes be a little bit short in our directions because instead of giving you the full history, just here's the bullet point of do what we say, and then it's obviously we've done 20 steps and 20 mistakes to get there, but instead of going through that, here is why you do it that way. Just do it for now, and then eventually we'll talk you through how we came to that conclusion. And he's been really good at just having faith, just doing it that way.
Now, the reason why real estate industry is good for doing what we're talking about is when you're going through that corporate ladder, you actually end up being almost like your own business. Which you can't do in many businesses. So in banking, it's a little bit harder. In if you're in signage, it's a bit harder. If you're spray painting cars, it's a little bit harder. But it's certainly great. It's a great industry because as soon as you can actually monetize those smarts that we're talking about this morning very quickly for yourself. So you're not limited by a hourly wage. You're remunerated by commission, which is great. Should you go into different those areas within the business. Now, you know what? I can't help to think that this applies to any industry.
Yeah,
really. I always say, because we're highly exposed to real estate, but when you are an athlete or when you are a soldier. In your ethics and your work and your attitude, you can't help but to succeed. Like you got to do well. So a lot of these traits that we're talking about this morning of really good operators, I think that I know that they're translatable to most industries, but particularly for the real estate industry, it's exciting.
Yeah, and I know, like even when I was running Domino's, when I had a new fresh 13, 14-year-old, I definitely to train up as a CSR customer service rep and making pizzas, for example, I definitely preferred that fresh person rather than someone who may have been transferred from another store because it's something little, like even like technique wise, when you've trained someone to do something one way and that's all they've learned, and that's their habit. Yes, at the initial you go, I'm going to start right back from the beginning but it's more frustrating. You get someone with a bit of experience and they're doing it the wrong way. And then you're like, hey, no, this way. And then next going, no, or they think their way is the best way. And it's just like, do it this way. Like, I think that young and fresh. So I think a lot of employers out there just open the mind of potentially having someone a bit raw, because we've had some great examples with the company, Jordan Galpin, Pulo, Angelo Gutzios,
Antonio.
16 years, little DJ Greek boy. I don't think he had any real estate experience. Did he start dropping or did he start? How did he start?
17 years of age, ripe years of age. And Angelo is a big writer for the industry. He does, he lists a lot of properties, puts them to market, sells a lot of properties. DY #1, Rate My Agent #1. He's a serious guy, not to be reckoned with. And great example. Came in at the age of 17, didn't care what he did, just wanted work and just worked through the ranks. And then there's got stripe after stripe after stripe on his sleeve, and now he's got a wonderful balanced career. So he's got a great family. He invests smartly, and he's got a very good work-life balance. Now, what's interesting with him is he's always juggled music. So probably the greatest story about Angelo that I think is he's had an enormous passion for the music business that was very difficult to monetize. But he got the best out of his real estate career. Then he got the best out of his music career, and he's actually picked the fruits of both of them very, very well.
And you know what, Mark? When I look back, and the names we'll saying before, like you've looked at Jordan, he's been number one in DY for sales during his career at Novak. Tulo hit number one. Lisa's hit number one. Angelo's hit number one, and it's just phenomenal. So.
Yeah, most of our operators have been I won't say trained well, because they've also had the traits, but it's definitely been a two-way street. But most of our operators are number one in their core area. Now, just to explain to people how important that is, or how big that number is, the volume that DY does of sales is probably one of the top five suburbs in the country, in New South Wales, I know for sure. So the volumes, if you're number one in the category of DY, you're a very big operator nationwide.
It's not like a suburb where there's two deals and it's just you saying number one and everyone's like, oh, fuck, there's a number one in every little town. But it's quite a influential suburb. Like if you're number one there, like a Manly, people will recognize it, and everyone goes, yeah. When I think it was like 500 properties selling a year, so it's a lot of properties compared to an area that may have one or two. So, but it's definitely hats off to yourself and the culture and getting with it. Because Mark, let's face it, there's a lot of duds. Like we've just rattled off some good, but there's a lot of duds.
Well, that's their good point. Good point. We've had to, we have to identify, train a hell of a lot of people to rattle off those successful people that we have in our business. So, and not only that, but I'm proud to say that it's quite sticky that it doesn't continue, even particularly when you leave Novak. So it's a really good partnership that you and I have, Michael, that Novak as a business has with its employees, that if that connection is not there or is one-sided, it just doesn't, it's proven to not work either.
I agree.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Because if you take a step back and we look at like the people who have left, and it's not like when at one stage when they were number one in, say, a DY,
to put it politely, they haven't continued that ranking.
Yeah, they haven't continued that ranking. They may have, they may be happier. Like, let's face it, there's always energy transferred somewhere. And to be number one, you're focusing a lot on work, and it may take away from other parts, and then a different change, and now you're happier in other parts, but you're not number one. So there's not saying you're doing any, like within that one angle of work, and that's why you work. But
yes,
it's done, as you said, there's not many people who have actually left and continued or surpassed.
No, like they've gone into farming cucumbers,
Yeah. And same on the property management side as well. I know a lot of, even at one time, a lot of senior property managers that were here, that if they're like, normal property managers became senior property managers somewhere else. And then now they're out of the industry picking apples. So sometimes it's a bit of a
cucumbers
change. Yep. So it's been good, but what do you reckon for every one?
Good number. I would say that
5 duds
to create a top operator in our business, we've got to go through 15 non-top operators to find one top operator.
So owners out there, if you
property
hire
management, sales, whatever.
Yeah, and that's
top
a good
operator.
number. That's good to know, because I think a lot of people, where they may hire 1 or 2 or 3 people, no experience, and go, they're duds, and go, this doesn't work, Mark's crazy. But it's 15, and we've done that before, Mark. I've seen where you've just hired 7 people or 5 people start at once and go, let's see who lasts, because I think anyone can.
It doesn't come out in an interview. It does not come out in an interview. I know that.
You look at someone like Silic, it doesn't come out maybe for a year or two after.
Yeah, that's right.
In results, you know there's something there.
Yeah.
But like if someone from the outside going, well, how's this performer? And
Yeah.
you look at his figures, going, hang on. But you're like, no, he's got something. He's got it. You're like, well,
Yeah.
look at this. He's got shit. So, but there's so.
Well, that's a take, dude. Anything else we want to add?
No, we've said a lot.
We've said a lot, but hopefully that helps people out because, you know, I think a lot of people romanticize whether they want to get into the business or not. I hope this takes you through the, you know, a lot of this is conversation we will have in a recruitment meeting or in you know, second round, third round and stuff like that. People ask these types of questions. So hopefully it's helped people today. And if you've got any friends or family that you want to share it with to help them, it's not particularly real estate. It's if they want to succeed well in any industry.
Exactly. So thanks everyone watching. Joey, it's good to have you on. Tony, Nikki, Lisa, Christian Benish. Hey, buddy, how are you? Chris Jansen, always great having these people on and supporting us.
Love you guys. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. Hopefully the sun's going to come out today.
Yep, beautiful. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.